Hey, my name is Ryan Whitney, and this is my psychology in my life project. Basically, over the next couple minutes, I'm going to discuss how psychology is seen in my life, and I'm going to put the concepts that I've learned in class into this video to explain what I've learned. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to talk about here is classical conditioning. Classical conditioning is the association between the stimulus and the response to the stimulus. Classical conditioning has 5 elements. These 5 elements are the unconditioned stimulus, which is a naturally occurring event that triggers a response, and that response leads us to the second element, which is the response, unconditioned response. And the unconditioned response is basically, as I said, the response to the unconditioned stimulus. Then the third element is the neutral stimulus, which is an event that has naturally occurred before but has never triggered a response, basically. Then we have the fourth element, which is the conditioned stimulus, which is the same as the neutral stimulus, but now that the uncontrolled response or uncontrolled stimulus has occurred, now that neutral stimulus has an effect on you, and it causes you to react to it, and that would be the fifth element, which is the conditioned response. So, as I've been saying, the conditioned response is the response to the conditioned stimulus. And yeah, that's basically the definition and the outline of classical conditioning. Alright, so the first example of classical conditioning in my life would be my mother, and I know I'm going to get in trouble of it. By the way, this is not my real mother. This is a picture off of Google. All rights reserved to Google. So this example, I know I'm going to get in trouble for it, but I guess I'll just go through the steps. So the uncontrolled stimulus in this example would be, at a young age, my mom yelling at me from one room to the other. So she was in the kitchen and I was in the family room playing video games. And my mom yelled, "Ryan, come here." And it was in a certain pitch of her voice that I heard her. And I went there and I got yelled at, and which triggered the uncontrolled response of me being scared. So as I progressed through life and grew up and got taller than her and bigger than her, I basically the neutral stimulus and the controlled stimulus evolved to my mother yelling and nagging, saying my name like, "Ryan, come here!" So every time I hear that, I get my controlled response, which is me thinking, "Oh no, what does she want now? I seriously don't want. I don't even want to know." Which is me being annoyed. So the uncontrolled response, or no, sorry, the controlled response is me being annoyed. And yeah, I'm gonna get in trouble for saying all that, but it's a good example because it is classical conditioning. My brain is trained so that when my mom nags me, I get annoyed now. But it's all started the one time I got yelled at when I was younger, and it was pretty bad. Alright, so second example of classical conditioning in my life would be skateboarding. I've skateboarded all my life. I love it. It's just the thrill of skateboarding. I love it. So there was an event when I was younger, which would be the unconditioned stimulus. I fell off my skateboard and they broke my wrist, and the unconditioned response to that would be the pain from breaking my wrist. And the neutral stimulus that always happened and never really had a response from it is just getting on my skateboard, just kicking it, pushing it around, getting some speed. And getting on my skateboard, yeah, is the neutral stimulus. But that turned into the conditioned stimulus where I get on my skateboard and I get my conditioned response, which is I'm anxious, I have anxiety, I get scared. Am I going to fall again? Am I going to get hurt again? Am I going to break my wrist again? So that is my second example of classical conditioning, and that is my definition and explanation of classical conditioning. And I will go into my next topic, which on my proposal was supposed to be memory and forgetting, but recently we have done something about stress, and I find that stress was more important to talk about because I found it the most interesting and I enjoyed it the most. So here's my section on stress. about stress, and stress is basically the body's response to some kind of demand that's made upon it. And stress is caused by a stressor, which is an organism or another, not even, it doesn't even have to be living, something that causes you to use your body's natural resources, and it creates stress, it creates tension in your life. Um, there are two types of stress. There's Eurostress, which is a healthy stress. For example, working out causes Eurostress. It makes your body use its energy to relieve the other type of stress, which is considered distress, which is when you're tense, you're right on the edge, you're mad, which is caused by like something, for example, being high traffic on the highway. Um, Different types of conflict that like affect stress would be there's three types. There's approach, which is where you come up with where you're faced with a situation where there's two results that you like, your favorite, and they don't really have a negative effect, so you're stuck between them. Then there's avoidance, where you have two decisions and they're both going to have a negative impact on your life, so either way your life is going to be impacted negatively. And then there's approach avoidance. This is where all the things have a good result, but they also have a bad result. So you got to pick between a good result and a bad result, and a good result and a bad result. So that's basically what stress is and like how the conflicts are dealt with. In my life, to deal with stress, I eat right. I eat healthy. I got a bag of fruit behind me. I got milk. I got everything that I need. I have a good group of friends that I have back home that I talk to frequently, and I talk to them about my problems. I have my family. I use them too to talk about my problems. And then I stay physically active, as I would say I work out every day. I participate in sporting events. I do as much as I can to get out there and really work my body, get rid of all the stress. And I don't put bad substances in my body. I don't do drugs. I drink casually. I don't drink to get drunk like most people. And yeah, that's basically my definition of stress and how it relates to my life. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to talk about is correlations, and basically correlations is how two things affect each other in any situation. So, in correlations in my life would be like a positive correlation would be how two things affect each other, but they both affect each other in a positive way, and then a negative correlation would be one thing increases while the other one decreases. So, an example of a positive correlation in my life would be my study time. As it increases, the grade percentage on my final exam will increase as well. So they both affect each other in a positive way, and they both rise up through that. And then a negative correlation in my life would be the time I spend studying affects the time I socialize with my friends. So as my studying time increases, my friend's socialization time decreases, and vice versa. So if I spend more time with my friends, my study time goes down. So basically I have to find a way to balance them out as much as I can. So yeah, that would be correlations in my life, and that's in the last thing that I want to mention in this video, and it is just something I learned throughout the semester. So that is my psychology and my life project, the presentation part. Attached will be the written part, and yeah, thank you for your time, and hopefully you enjoyed this video.